My Mother-in-Law and I. Episode 3. Story by Truth Be Told. Obinna looked down at his hands, his voice breaking slightly. I don't expect you to forget. I don't even expect you to forgive me right away. But what I do expect is to show you that I'm here for you. I've made mistakes, but I want to spend the rest of my life making up for them. If you can't find it in your heart to forgive me now, I will wait. I will wait for as long as it takes. Amara's chest tightened. His words seemed sincere, but the pain was too deep. I can't just pretend everything is fine, Obinna. I can't let you back in only for you to leave again. I won't leave again, Amara. I swear on my life. I've learned the hard way that love isn't just about words. It's about action. It's about consistency. I won't just say I've changed. I'll show you. For the first time in weeks, Amara looked at Obinna and saw the man she had once loved, the man who had always protected her, before his mother and his own insecurities had driven them apart. Could she trust him again? Or had the damage been too much? Obinna, she began, her voice cracking. I don't know if I'm ready to trust you again. I don't know if I can ever forgive you. But I want to try. For us. For this child. Obinna's face lit up with a flicker of hope. He reached out and gently placed his hand on her belly, his eyes full of emotion. Amara, I will spend the rest of my life proving to you that I'm worthy of your love. I won't give up on you or on this family. Amara felt a weight lift off her chest, but it was quickly replaced by a new kind of fear. The road ahead was uncertain. There was no guarantee that their love would survive the trials ahead, but for the first time in a long while, Amara felt like she was taking the first step toward healing. I'm willing to try, she said, her voice steady now. But you need to prove to me that you mean it. And we need time. Time to rebuild what we lost. Obinna nodded, his eyes full of gratitude. I'll give you all the time you need, Amara. I'm not going anywhere. As he stood up to leave, he looked back one last time, his heart heavy but full of hope. Amara watched him go, her thoughts swirling. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for sure. She was no longer going to let fear control her. She was going to take this journey one step at a time. And no matter what happened, she would always remember that she was stronger than the past. Stronger than the pain, stronger than anything that tried to hold her down. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions for Amara. As she took the first steps toward opening her heart to Obinna, she found herself facing her deepest fears and confronting unresolved feelings. The delicate balance between holding on and letting go weighed heavily on her, but she was determined to move forward, not just for herself, but for the life growing inside her. Obinna, on the other hand, had never been more committed. Each day, he tried his best to prove that he was a changed man. He had become more responsible and more patient. His actions spoke louder than his words. He began to show up when he said he would, listening attentively when she spoke, and most importantly, he made sure that she felt heard. Amara had to admit, it was a slow but steady progress. Yet, there was still a wall between them, one that had been built brick by brick during years of mistrust and hurt. It was early morning when Amara, exhausted from the emotional turmoil of the past few weeks, decided to take a walk to clear her mind. She didn't want to speak to anyone today, not even Kioma, though she loved her dearly. Her thoughts were too jumbled, and she needed space to process everything. She walked along the familiar road, the one she had often taken when life seemed less complicated. The sun had just begun to rise, and the cool breeze was a welcome relief from the heat that was slowly taking over the village. The quiet peace of the morning soothed her troubled soul, and for a moment, she found herself thinking only of the present, the sound of her footsteps, the distant call of birds, the beauty of the day. Her mind wandered to the future. The baby. She had tried to convince herself that she could handle it all alone, but now, with Abina's insistence on being there for her, she couldn't help but wonder what kind of life they would build together. Could they rebuild their relationship? Could they become the family they once dreamed of being? Amara's footsteps led her to the edge of the village, where the wide river flowed gently by. She had always loved the river. There was something about it, the way it was both calm and powerful, reflecting the world around it while carving its own path. She stood by the river's edge, feeling the soft rush of water as it made its way downstream. As she watched the water, lost in thought, she heard a voice behind her. Amara. She turned to see Abina standing at the edge of the path, his expression cautious but hopeful. She hadn't heard him approach, but there he was, as always, ready to talk, ready to try. She didn't speak immediately, only stared at him for a moment, weighing her words. I thought I would come out here and think, Amara finally said, her voice soft. I needed some space, Abina. I understand, Abina said, his voice gentle. He took a few steps toward her but stopped at a respectful distance. I just wanted to check on you. I know things haven't been easy, but I'm here. I'm not going anywhere, I promise. Amara felt a twinge of something, a flicker of the love they had shared. She quickly pushed it aside, focusing instead on the moment. It's not just you, Abina. I'm still working through everything. It's not as simple as you just saying sorry. He nodded solemnly. I know. I'm not expecting everything to be fixed in a day, Amara. I've learned that love takes work. Real work. And I'm willing to do that work. For you, for us. She sighed, her breath heavy. But what about me? What if I can't forgive you? What if I never get past the hurt? Abina's face fell, but he didn't look away. He walked toward her slowly, his eyes full of sincerity. Amara, I know I hurt you. And I will spend the rest of my life showing you that I'm worthy of your forgiveness. I won't ask for it. I'll earn it. Amara swallowed hard, her heart torn. He was right. She couldn't expect him to fix everything in a single conversation, but something deep inside her was beginning to shift. The walls she had built around her heart were starting to crack, bit by bit. Slowly, like the river cutting its path through the earth, she began to realize that healing could happen. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't be quick, but it was possible. Abina, she whispered, the weight of her emotions breaking through. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. But I want to try. I don't want to carry this pain with me for the rest of my life. His eyes lit up with hope. He reached out, gently taking her hand in his. Then let's take it one day at a time. We'll go at your pace, Amara. But we're in this together. The sincerity in his voice warmed her heart, and for the first time in a long while, Amara felt like there was a chance for her to be happy again. The next few days were a blur of emotion. Amara found herself caught between the desire to forgive and the fear of being hurt again. She was determined not to rush into anything, but there were moments, small moments, where she saw a glimpse of the man she had fallen in love with. One afternoon, Abina took her to the village market, a place she had once loved to visit. It was bustling with life, full of colorful stalls selling everything from fresh fruits to handmade goods. For the first time in weeks, Amara felt a little bit of joy stir within her as she watched the vibrant life around her. She smiled, remembering the simple pleasures that had once made her happy. I thought we could get some fresh fruits for the house, Abina suggested, trying to bring back a sense of normalcy between them. Amara nodded, though her mind was still heavy with unanswered questions. That sounds nice. As they walked through the market, Amara noticed the way Abina interacted with the vendors, with the people in the village. He had always been kind to others, but now, there was a tenderness in his actions that she hadn't seen before. He was trying, really trying, to make up for everything he had done. Later that evening, when they returned to the house, Abina surprised her with a simple dinner. It wasn't anything extravagant, just a plate of jollof rice and some grilled chicken, but it was made with care. As they sat together, sharing the meal, Amara felt a warmth begin to spread through her chest. "This feels like us again," she said softly, taking a bite of the food. "It feels like it could be the beginning of something new." Abina smiled, his eyes full of gratitude. "It is. I promise, Amara, this is just the beginning." She smiled back, though it was small, careful. She wasn't ready to completely give herself over to the hope that things could be the same. But in that moment, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild. As the days turned into weeks, Amara and Abina's relationship began to heal, piece by piece. It wasn't easy. It wasn't perfect. But with each passing day, they learned to trust each other again. They laughed together, cried together, and faced the uncertainties of the future as a team. Amara knew it would take time. Trust was a fragile thing, and she couldn't rush it. But for the first time, she felt like she was moving towards something better. The baby growing inside her was a symbol of hope, a symbol that even in the darkest of times, new life could emerge. And as the sun set each day, Amara held on to that hope, one day at a time. The next few weeks proved to be a turning point for Amara and Abina. They were no longer in the phase of pretending everything was fine. Instead, they were slowly rebuilding their relationship, brick by brick, word by word. It wasn't easy, and every step forward seemed to be matched with another struggle, but they were making progress. They were learning to communicate, to listen, and, most importantly, to heal. Amara had started to see a different side of Abina. His patience and commitment to her had grown exponentially. He was trying harder than ever before, doing everything he could to ease the emotional burden she had carried for so long. But still, there was a wall she couldn't tear down quickly. The betrayal, the lies, the feeling of abandonment, those were wounds that took time to heal. But as the days passed, Amara began to open up more to Abina. They would sit together in the evenings, long after the sun had set, talking about their dreams, their fears, and their regrets. It was during these quiet moments, in the stillness of the night, that they started to rebuild the foundation of their love. One evening, as the two of them sat by the river near their house, Amara finally spoke the words that had been weighing on her heart for months. "I've been angry with you for so long, Abina. Angry and hurt. I thought I could just move on without dealing with it. But I can't. It's not that simple." Abina looked at her with deep understanding. "I know. And I'm sorry, Amara. I've failed you in so many ways. But I'll keep showing you that I'm not the man I used to be." Amara looked away, gazing at the water. "But what if you are, Abina? What if the man I'm seeing now is just a shadow of who you truly are? What if I let myself believe in you again, and you fail me again?" The pain in her voice broke Abina's heart. He reached out and gently took her hand. "Amara, I would never intentionally hurt you again. You have my word. I can't change the past, but I can prove to you, every single day, that I'm worth your trust. Worth your forgiveness." The sincerity in his voice made her heart ache. She wanted so badly to believe him, to trust him again. But the fear of being hurt once more loomed over her like a shadow. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet," she whispered. "But I want to try. I want to try to heal. I want to try to trust you again." Abina's face softened. He squeezed her hand gently. "That's all I can ask for, Amara. And I'll be here, every step of the way. You don't have to do this alone. Days turned into weeks, and with every passing moment, Amara found herself slowly letting go of the anger she had been holding onto for so long. It was a painful process, but it was also freeing. She was no longer bound by the resentment that had consumed her. Instead, she was beginning to make space for something new, something hopeful. Abina didn't stop trying. He was always there for her, offering support in ways that she had never seen before. One afternoon, after a long day, he came home with a small gift, a simple bracelet made of beads and leather. I saw this and thought of you, Abina said, his voice soft. I want you to wear it as a reminder that I'm here, no matter what. Amara took the bracelet from him, looking at it for a moment. It was simple, but it meant so much more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of his commitment to her, of the effort he was putting into healing their relationship. I'll wear it, she said quietly. But I'm not wearing it for you, Abina. I'm wearing it for me. To remind myself that I'm choosing to trust again. Abina's eyes filled with emotion. Thank you, Amara. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of everything between them hanging in the air. Then, Abina gently lifted her chin, making her meet his gaze. I know we're not there yet, he said, his voice filled with determination. But we're getting there, one step at a time. And I'll never give up on you. On us. Amara nodded, her heart softening. She wasn't sure if she was ready to fully forgive him, but she was beginning to see the possibility of a future, one where they could work together to heal, rebuild, and create something beautiful from the wreckage of the past. Meanwhile, life continued in the village. Amara's mother, who had always been a staunch critic of her relationship with Abina, had begun to see changes in her daughter. Though she still had reservations about Abina's ability to truly change, she had to admit that he was showing signs of improvement. For the first time in a long time, Amara felt her mother's gaze soften when she spoke about her future. I'm proud of you, my daughter, her mother said one afternoon as they sat in the kitchen, preparing dinner together. I see the way Abina has been trying, and I see the strength in you. You're not giving up, and that gives me hope. Amara smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart. I'm not giving up, Mama. I'm choosing to try. That's all I can do. Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder, her expression serious but full of love. And that's enough. You don't have to have all the answers now. Just keep moving forward, one step at a time. As Amara sat with her mother, she realized how much her support had meant to her throughout the journey. Even when things were dark, her mother had been a steady presence, reminding her that strength didn't come from having all the answers, it came from continuing to move forward, no matter how hard it was. The next few days were full of small victories. Amara and Abina started spending more time together, working through their issues, and building new memories. They shared laughs, even in the midst of their struggles, and slowly but surely, their bond began to strengthen. One evening, as they sat outside under the stars, Amara felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She didn't have all the answers, and the road ahead was still uncertain, but she knew one thing for sure: she wasn't alone. Abina was there, by her side, willing to work alongside her to rebuild what they had lost. I never thought I would get here, Amara said, her voice soft but full of conviction. But I'm starting to believe that maybe we can make this work. Abina smiled, his eyes full of tenderness. I believe it too. And I'll keep working to prove it to you. As they sat there, side by side, the future felt a little brighter. The past might never be fully forgotten, but it didn't have to define them. Together, they could build something new, something stronger, something filled with hope. Days had turned into weeks, And as time passed, Amara began to feel like a different person. The weight of the past still pressed on her, but she was no longer allowing it to define her. She was learning to live with the pain without letting it consume her. Slowly, she was beginning to trust herself again, and that was the first step toward healing her relationship with Abina. Abina, too, had changed. The man who had once been driven by pride and ego had started to listen more, to understand the complexities of Amara's heart. His actions spoke louder than any words could. Every day, he would find new ways to show his commitment to her. Whether it was through small gestures of kindness or simply being there when she needed him most. The romantic dinners, the thoughtful surprises, the quiet moments, they all meant more to Amara than Abina could ever fully understand. One evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, the two of them sat together on the porch of their home. The cool breeze swept through the air, and the sound of birds chirping in the distance created a peaceful backdrop to their quiet conversation. "Do you ever think about how we got here?" Amara asked, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Abina shifted beside her, looking at her with a mixture of longing and regret. "I think about it every day," he admitted. "The mistakes I made, the things I should have done differently. I wish I could turn back time, Amara. But I can't. All I can do now is show you that I've changed." Amara turned to face him, her expression serious. "I've thought about it too. About all the times I tried to walk away, but something inside me kept holding on. I think I was holding on to the hope that you would change." Abina nodded, his voice filled with emotion. "I wasn't ready to change, Amara. But now I see what I was missing. I see you. I see us. I know I can't undo the past, but I'll never take you for granted again." Amara's heart swelled with a mixture of hope and fear. Hope that this was real, that this change was permanent. And fear that the hurt she had experienced would always linger like a shadow. "But what if the past repeats itself?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if I allow myself to believe in you again, and you fail me once more?" Abina reached out and gently cupped her face in his hands, his eyes soft and sincere. "I won't fail you again, Amara. I'm not the man I was before. I've seen the damage I caused, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." Amara's breath caught in her throat as she looked into his eyes. She saw the rawness of his emotions, the vulnerability that had once been hidden behind his pride. For the first time in a long time, she felt a spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a future for them. A future where they could build something new and beautiful from the ashes of their past. "I don't know if I'm ready to fully forgive you yet," she said, her voice trembling with the weight of her words. "But I want to try. I want to believe in us again." Abina's face lit up with a gentle smile, and he pulled her into a warm embrace. "That's all I can ask for, Amara. We'll take it one day at a time. Together." The following days were filled with both challenges and triumphs. Amara and Abina had their share of difficult conversations, but they were learning to communicate in a way they never had before. Instead of bottling up their feelings or resorting to silence, they were opening up to each other, sharing their fears, their desires, and their dreams. It was slow work, but it was progress. One day, Abina decided to take Amara on a surprise trip to the countryside. He knew how much she loved the outdoors, and he wanted to create new memories with her, memories that weren't tainted by the past. As they drove through winding roads lined with tall trees and vibrant flowers, Amara couldn't help but smile at the thoughtfulness behind the gesture. They arrived at a secluded area by a lake, where the water shimmered under the midday sun. Abina set up a picnic, and the two of them spent hours talking, laughing, and simply enjoying each other's company. It was a beautiful, peaceful day, one that allowed them to forget the weight of their past and focus on the present. As the day drew to a close, Amara leaned back on the blanket, her hand resting on her chest as she gazed up at the stars that were beginning to fill the night sky. "I never thought I'd be here," she said, her voice soft and full of wonder. "After everything we've been through, I never thought we'd find our way back to each other." Abina lay beside her, his arms stretched out, fingers gently grazing hers. "Neither did I," he admitted. "But I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we're still fighting." Amara looked at him, her eyes full of tenderness. "I don't know what the future holds, Abina. But I do know that I'm willing to fight for us. For this." Abina smiled, his heart full of gratitude. "And I'll keep fighting, Amara. For as long as it takes." The next few weeks continued in much the same way. The healing process was slow, but it was real. Amara and Abina were learning to trust each other again, and although the road ahead was still uncertain, they were facing it together. There were still moments of doubt, moments when the past threatened to rise up again. But each time, they chose to face it head on, knowing that they were stronger together than they were apart. One evening, as they sat in their living room, Amara looked at Abina with a softness in her eyes. "I think I'm starting to believe in us again," she said quietly. Abina turned to face her, his heart swelling with emotion. "That's all I need to hear," he replied. And in that moment, as they held each other close, Amara realized something profound. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting the past. It was about choosing to move forward, together, with hope in their hearts. It was about allowing space for healing, for change, and for growth. And that was something worth fighting for. The days after their trip to the countryside were filled with a sense of calm, but both Amara and Abina knew deep down that the peace they had found was fragile. They had made progress, yes, but the true test was still ahead of them. Trust, after all, was a delicate thing to rebuild. It was a Friday morning when the first real challenge came knocking. Abina had been offered a lucrative job opportunity in another city, a position that promised career advancement and financial stability. The offer seemed like a dream come true for him, and he was excited about the possibilities it could bring. But as soon as he shared the news with Amara, he noticed her reaction was different than he expected. "Abina, this is amazing news," Amara said, her voice a bit tight, as she tried to mask the concern creeping into her heart. "You've worked so hard for this." Abina smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I know. But there's more to it. The position requires me to relocate for at least a year. I'd have to be away from you most of the time." The words hung in the air, heavy and difficult to ignore. Amara's heart skipped a beat as she absorbed the weight of what he was saying. A year. A whole year without Abina, after everything they had been through. It was hard to imagine. "I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice soft and uncertain. "We've just started to rebuild everything. A year apart, it feels like we're taking a step backward." Abina reached for her hand, his grip firm yet gentle. "Amara, I don't want to leave you. I don't. But this is a huge opportunity for us. It's not just about the money. It's about the future. And I need your support." The sincerity in his eyes made her pause. She knew this job meant a lot to him, and she wanted to support his dreams. But the thought of being alone again, of feeling abandoned after everything they had fought through, made her anxious. She couldn't ignore the fear that crept into her heart. "I don't know if I can do this, Abina," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm scared. After everything that's happened, can we really handle being apart again? I'm not sure if I'm strong enough to face that." Abina's expression softened, and he moved closer to her, wrapping his arms around her. "I understand how you feel, Amara. But this isn't about us being apart. It's about building a better future for both of us. We've already survived so much. We can survive this too. But Amara wasn't sure. She pulled away slightly, her brow furrowed as she tried to process everything. I need time to think about it, Abina, she said quietly. I need to figure out how I feel. I need to know if I can trust this, if I can trust you, to come back to me once this year is over. Abina nodded, his expression serious. I understand. Take all the time you need. But just know this, no matter where I am, my heart is here with you. This opportunity doesn't change what we've built. Over the next few days, Amara found herself in turmoil. She wanted to support Abina. She wanted to be the wife who stood by her husband's side, cheering him on as he reached for his dreams. But the fear of losing him again, of going back to a place where they weren't truly connected, haunted her. What if things changed between them? What if a year apart would tear them apart? She spent hours walking around their home, going over every conversation, every promise they had made. She was trying to weigh the pros and cons, trying to figure out what was best for them both. But nothing seemed clear. Every time she thought she had made up her mind, doubt would creep in and cloud her judgment. Finally, one night, as the sun set and the house grew quiet, Amara sat down at the dining table, her phone in hand. She stared at it for a long time, her thumb hovering over the message she had composed to Abina. I don't know if I can trust that we will make it through this. I'm scared.